These are some of the biggest gang leaders from the world's deadliest gangs.
Taking over the Shower Posse in 1992, after the death of his father, Lester Coke, who died in prison in a mysterious fire, Coke's leadership was said to be more discreet than his father's, to avoid any attention from U.S. authorities. Coke terrorized and destroyed anyone who interfered with his drug operation, including allegedly dismembering a victim with a chainsaw for stealing drugs from him. But using his power, he turned himself into a community leader in the Kingston neighborhood of Tivoli Gardens, using his money to create jobs and set up community centers to help children. He became so powerful that Jamaican police had to seek permission from the Shower Posse before entering the neighborhood. Coke was a hero to locals, so that after the United States first asked the Jamaican government for his extradition on drug trafficking charges, a huge riot took place. In Kingston in 2010, the national government placed the city under a state of emergency. At least 74 people, including one soldier, were killed in clashes between security forces, Shower Posse, gang members, and locals. During the chaos, Coke escaped and went on the run, but was eventually arrested 4 weeks later by police at a vehicle checkpoint on the outskirts of Kingston, where Coke was caught disguised as a woman. In 2012, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison and is being held in Fort Dix, New Jersey.
As a notorious gang leader in the north of England, G's been accused of turning the city of Liverpool into the UK's Hell's Kitchen, and in May 2024, he escaped prison. G went down in 2010 with an indefinite prison sentence for the public's protection after an investigation caught him conspiring to buy guns and threatening to kill 16-year-old Jamie Starkey, who had shot G during a New Year's Day confrontation in 2008. After a bullet had pierced his stomach and lung before exiting his back, G was taken to hospital but refused treatment, and he planned his revenge. During G's sentencing for conspiracy in 2010, the judge told him, "I really do not know when it will be safe to release you." But he was soon transferred to Category D prison, Kirkleavington, where inmates have minimal security and can be allowed to spend most of their day away from the prison to carry out work and... The brutality that TDA are showing in the U.S. is becoming a worry for the FBI, as they fear that teaming up with MS-13 could make them as powerful as they are back in Venezuela. There, they are under the leadership of Hector Flores, and their crimes extend into extortion, drug running, sex trafficking, and human smuggling. Nicknamed Warrior Child, Flores' whereabouts remain unknown since his escape from prison in September 2023, although not many people would have called the Tocaron in Venezuela a prison, as Flores lived like a king. Not only did he turn the jail into the nerve center for TDA, he also kitted it out with a betting shop, nightclub, swimming pool, a restaurant, baseball field, and even an animal enclosure. But when 11,000 soldiers and police entered the jail to try and regain control from inmates, Flores fled, and some experts suggest he's hiding out in the U.S.
November 2023, Comanchero kingpin Hakan Ayik, aka Big Hux, was Australia's most wanted fugitive until a high-stakes raid led by the FBI and Turkish authorities busted Ayik and other underworld figures in the city of Istanbul, seizing an estimated $250 million.
Australia's most wanted man has been arrested in Turkey after more than a decade on the run. Former city Comanchero Hakan Ayik has been detained as part of a Turkish police operation.
As head of the Comancheros, Ayik, who had been on the run since 2010, has an estimated wealth of more than $800 million. He made his money by orchestrating a colossal global drug empire with links to the notorious Mexican Sinaloa cartel. In what was seen as an unprecedented event in Japan, Yakuza godfather Satoru Nomura was sentenced to death in 2021 for ordering 4 civilian attacks, including 1 murder. The conviction was groundbreaking, as it was the first time that the head of a Yakuza clan had been sentenced to death. The victims included the head of a fishing cooperative, a nurse, and a dentist. The 4th victim was a former police officer who was shot dead in an attempt to scare local law enforcement. And although it's said the case lacked direct evidence that Nomura ordered the attacks, the judge agreed with the prosecutors that they could not have taken place without him giving the green light. According to local news reports, after the ruling, Nomura turned to the judge and said, "You'll regret this for the rest of your life." The judge and said, "You'll regret this for the rest of your life." After leader Alex Pee Wee After leader Alex Pee Wee Aguirre was sentenced to life in 1995 for 7 murders and 6 attempted murders. He turned over control to his brother, Richard Little Pee Wee Aguirre, who was aged just 14 at the time. Becoming a shot caller at such a young age didn't go down well with older members, who didn't like taking orders from a kid. So in a bid to prove his ruthlessness, Richard greenlit 3 murders. Richard Aguirre's reign on the streets lasted until 2001, when he was charged for the 3 murders and sentenced to life at Kern Valley State Prison. This gang is said to trace its origins to 7 founding members, each revered to as a pillar. 3 of these pillars are Jeffrey Barraza, aka Babyface, David Powell, aka Davo, and Joseph Props Jr., aka JP, who are all currently serving time in prison. The significance of the pillars are important, as every member within Ghostface can trace their gang bloodline directly to one of them, underscoring the importance of gang loyalty. In an incident that underscores the gang's ruthlessness, leader Barraza once issued orders to punish a fellow gang member, identified only as JBB, for not following rules. As he was held at gunpoint, a knife was used to forcibly carve out his gang tattoo. In 2022, U.S. Attorney Ryan K. Buchanan was quoted as saying, "On the street and from behind bars, Ghostface gangsters have trafficked drugs and orchestrated and perpetrated horrific acts of violence. And this is because, even when locked up, Ghostface is still a deadly threat to authorities."
In April 2024, SMB leader Billy Arnold, aka B-Man and Killa, was sentenced to life for 22 counts, including murder, racketeering, RICO conspiracy, and firearm offenses. Whilst leader in 2014, a deadly encounter at a state parole office between Arnold and 2 members of the Hustle Boys, Michael and Martazi Davis, aka 42 Twins, was the reason for gangs creating Instagram hit lists. After spotting the twins leaving the parole office, Arnold called several allies, including Corey Bailey, aka Cocaine Sonny, so the gang could confront them. The Davis twins climbed into a car with 2 other Hustle Boys, including Dwan Neff Page, and drove for about 4 miles before they were cornered by 3 cars filled with SMB members. Arnold and Bailey opened fire, shooting Michael Davis in the chest and Page in the left eye and upper body. After their deaths, a hit list of 10 7 Mile members, including Bailey and Arnold, was posted on Instagram by someone using the name All Headshots. The post resulted in 7 attacks and 4 deaths in the gang, including rapper Hard Work Jig, who survived a hit in 2014, and the shooting murders of Jason Whiteboy Gill, Michael Rogers, and SMB leader Devin Block McClure in 2015. McClure's death remains unsolved and was said to have hit Billy Arnold hard, who issued a threat of retaliation, allegedly stating, "I'm killing everybody."
Notorious Canadian-based gangster Goldie Brar was declared a terrorist by India's Home Ministry in January 2024. Said to be hiding out in Canada's city of Brampton, Brar is a leader of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, one of India's most feared, with claims to have links to a staggering 700 shooters across the country. Brar's recent classification as a terrorist is due to his alleged association with the Pakistan-based militant group Babar Khalsa, a recognized terrorist organization. He's also on Interpol's most wanted list for connection with the smuggling of drugs, high-grade arms, ammunition, and explosive materials, all done through drones from across the border. Arriving in Canada on a student visa in 2017, cop records state that there are now 50 cases of murder, attempted murder, and extortion registered against him, including a connection to the shocking assassination of District Youth Congress President Gurlal Singh Pehalwan in 2021, shot dead by two men while standing by his car near Jubilee Chowk in Faridkot District. But the case that made headlines was the brutal murder of Punjabi rapper superstar Sidhu In Barnala, Moosewala was fatally shot in his black Mahindra Thar SUV after two cars blocked him in before unidentified assailants fired 30 rounds at the vehicle. Despite Moosewala firing back with his own pistol, his injuries proved fatal, and he was declared dead in hospital later that day. After the chilling incident, Goldie Brar claimed responsibility for the murder. In a Facebook post, he wrote, "Lawrence Bishnoi and I are behind the killing of Sidhu Moosewala."
In February 2023, the U.S. government announced it was offering a staggering $5 million reward for information leading to the capture of Yulan Karas, aka El Porky, the infamous leader of the MS-13 in Honduras. The hunt for Karas has been raging for years. He's the most wanted fugitive by the FBI, DEA, and DHS Homeland Security, and this high-stakes manhunt is a race to bring the notorious gang leader to justice. The news of Karas making the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives is so big that even internet betting sites have begun offering odds on his capture, with 3-to-1 payouts on wagers placed for him to be caught first. In 2020, MS-13 gang members staged a daring and violent rescue operation to help him evade prison. Whilst Karas was attending a court hearing in the Honduran city of El Progreso for the murder of two prosecutors, a gang of 20 heavily armed gunmen burst into the court building with their goal to free the infamous leader. CCTV footage captured the intense firefight. Karas was led into the building in handcuffs wearing a white vest by armed security forces, but moments later, the gang, dressed in military fatigues and police uniforms, stormed in and forced people into rooms, confiscating and destroying their cell phones. After a few tense minutes, Karas reappeared without handcuffs, armed with a machine gun and a pistol. As the gang tried to make their escape, security forces outside opened fire, and a vicious exchange of gunfire took place, with 4 police officers being killed in the chaos, and Karas and the gang escaping.